Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Prospero.ai stock market live streams. It is just an hour before NVIDIA reports earnings, which is sure to be a market mover. And we will get into in detail when George gets in here how he's feeling just before the earnings cross the wire. The markets are up today across the board. Let's take a look at the QQQ and SPY net options sentiment in Prospero as everybody enters the stream today. Johnny says, yeah, I couldn't sleep. A comment on YouTube. Hey, Johnny and Kevin, thanks for commenting. I saw you guys were even in the stream early. That is awesome. Thanks for being here. Everybody like the stream if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube. If you're excited for the topics and get some value out of these streams. So I'm looking at QQQ and SPY in the Prospero app. Net options for QQQ is 34, which is the highest we've seen it in a bit now. It's starting to really climb back towards that bull bear line of 40, probably in anticipation of NVIDIA earnings today. SPY is not having it. It's still in single digits down at 5, but we've seen this trend for most of the year now where SPY is well behind the QQQ and net option sentiment, so nothing too out of the ordinary there. We're going to kick off today with the market overview and NVIDIA and how that will affect the market going forward. And then we're going to get into a story about Google, the case over whether it is going to be allowed for them to pay Apple to be the search provider is expected to be, there's a decision expected to be coming very soon. So I figure it's a good idea to put on the Prospero community's radar before this comes out. We'll see if George thinks this will be a bullish or bearish event for Google and Apple. I've seen some people think both ways for Google because sure, they'll lose that guarantee of being the number one for search, but then they get all of that money. It's a lot they spend to be the guaranteed provider, maybe to reinvest in Gemini. So there's a little bit of different opinions on the matter. Then there's another story I saw, which is interesting, about Apple getting into creating radio stations. They're partnering with TuneIn. So I'm wondering, is this the kind of innovation that will excite George for Apple? A little bit sarcastic there, but really, is this a good strategy? Maybe radio stations are undervalued at this point in time since nobody's really giving them much mind. So maybe it's smart for Apple to do this. I see Mario has a question, so when George gets in here, we'll get to it on his questions on YouTube. By the way, if anybody's watching for the first time, we are happy to answer all the questions you guys have, so feel free to comment them on whatever, and we will get to all of them throughout the stream today. Another story we have to get to is an update on the Cracker Barrel logo saga. So Cracker Barrel officially going back to the original logo, and the shares are reacting positively to this news. So the shares are very reactive to this story, which is kind of crazy. But I think George has even another thought that he was thinking about more once our stream ended the other day that he wants to share on the stream. So we'll get back into that whole situation. Then at the end of the day yesterday, UNH shares dropped over a story that seems like an ongoing story that the market may have known already because the shares after that initial drop reacted positively today, being in the green. So I want to ask George, is UNH going to be a buy on all dips type of stock going forward? It's been high in the signals, and now that we have this maybe floor of 300 with all of the institution investments that we've seen recently. So a little update on UNH. Then TikTok, which I had no idea that this was the case. They actually do more revenue than Meta for social media, which I was shocked to see. But they just got a new valuation, and it's, with these China companies, they seem to be valued much lower than their USA counterparts, and there's no difference here. But pretty interesting to see what their valuation is with how much revenue they are doing. And I'm wondering if there's going to be an update with the TikTok ban, which doesn't seem like it's going to be happening soon. Maybe a company will be partnering with them in the USA. And last but not least on the stream today, the stock is reacting well from earnings yesterday. MongoDB was up 31% last time I saw. Let's see if it's still that high. Oh my gosh, up 36% now. So just going up all day long. And another stock, which looks very good in our signals, Snowflake reports after the bell today as well. I'm going to ask George if he believes that Snowflake could be the next MongoDB if they can make as good of a reaction to their earnings as MongoDB has. And then at the end of the stream today, as usual, we will do the model portfolio update where we go live with the ads and drops. So you'll get to see how George is managing the portfolio just before NVIDIA actually reports today. What do you guys think? Let's see some comments. We have over 150 people have tuned into the stream already. Just say bullish or bearish in the chat if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube. How are you feeling on NVIDIA's earnings reaction? Let me check them out in Prospero. They've been looking pretty good in the signals as of late. But let's make sure nothing wonky is going on. And they're still up there. Yeah, so NVIDIA is on the short-term bull list right now. 92 upside, 89 net options sentiment. So firmly towards the tops of our signals. Only a 23 downside. 61 profitability. We have one bullish and one bearish so far. So the Prospero, I wonder, let me see something. When I do streams on another channel, I can make polls. Maybe I can make a poll for this stream today and have everybody vote as you guys are entering into the stream. Let's see if I can do this for you all. This would be interesting to data to collect throughout the stream. How can I do this? I think I have to do it before I even go live today. So maybe I can't do it since we're already live. But maybe I'll just pin a comment for everybody. Hello, George. Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
I'm going to have a pinned comment. Vote in the chat if you're bullish or bearish on NVIDIA today. We'll collect some data.
I was actually trying to set up my question that we did well with like AMD and a bunch of the other things on. So hopefully I was like, my perplexity, like my saved searches were not registering. So I'm going to check again in a second after I send this out.
So I feel like the signals are not making it easy heading into the earnings because we're seeing this slight drift higher in the QQQ net option sentiment, but it's not really like firmly bullish. It's still at 30 right now. SPY is also just hit double digits. It's at 10 now. So we're seeing a slight drift up from where they were like in the past couple days or a week or so ago. NVIDIA Prospero signals look pretty bullish. So, we are just about an hour away from when we get these results. I'm seeing a lot of people. I mean, in our own Prospero community, we have wavering opinions. So how are you feeling now that we're right up against this major report this evening?
I'm about to ask perplexity. I finally got my saved searches. I was trying to do this before.
What are you asking exactly?
We asked about the whisper number. Remember we did that, and then it ends up giving us a lot more information. Did I do deep research? No.
So something I've seen a lot of people mentioning on social media is the fact that all of the other mega caps have reported, and they all either kept or upped their capex spends, which everybody's saying is pretty good for NVIDIA because that basically goes right to them nowadays. So I think overall, I don't know how you feel, but if I had to gauge the sentiment of the stock market world, I would say probably leaning bullish, right?
I'm definitely leaning bullish, and I might just, we'll see what perplexity says, but we'll make my prediction before. Like I happen to think that just generally NVIDIA is a good bet to beat, right? Then we have like a lot of these mega caps doing well, a lot of these mega caps, like upping their spending. There was interesting news. Who signed the big cloud deal with Google? Was that I forget who it was. I think it was Meta signed a big cloud deal with Google. So that's interesting. Like, I think that's a big NVIDIA customer. So like that's kind of the exception to what you were saying. However, like, I just am inclined to bet on NVIDIA. I'm inclined to bet on any mega cap in this cycle. But the one thing that kind of keeps me, that always has me a little weary of NVIDIA is they do it so much, and eventually you're going to miss, right? Because, like, just to review what earnings are, right? It's not like, this isn't something where it's like a dice roll, right? And I'll give you the difference in what I'm talking about. In like a dice roll, when someone wins 4 times in a row and someone's like, they're due for a loss, no, they aren't, right? The dice are the dice. That's a random chance game. But when you're talking about earnings, why am I saying they're kind of due? Well, you have a lot of flexibility in how you report earnings, if you adjust, how aggressively, you go. So NVIDIA could, and absolutely does, I think, often play it on the safer side, right? But sooner or later, maybe you play it less safe because you want to keep your stock, up if you're worried about the market turning, if you're worried about a correction. So maybe you cut it a little closer than you would when you're forecasting like a bull market, cut it a little closer to like honest. So you don't have as much room to go up. And then you kind of have what happened with AMD, which I don't think is big of a risk for NVIDIA, where they did beat, but it just wasn't enough. People expect more exuberance, but that's kind of what we're talking about with NVIDIA too, right? Where it's just like people expect such a good quarter from them. They expect them to like blow things out of the water. So maybe, maybe actually a decent beat isn't enough this time, right? So it's pretty complicated. I'm probably leaning more towards, I haven't really checked the price action, but I'm probably leaning more towards playing it than not at this moment.
I feel like you typically like playing the actual stock, because I try to always ask you, like, is there any other ways to play it? Are you feeling any other like companies that will react, or no, NVIDIA is the way to go? If they report bullish.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that if you're going to do it, you have faith in the thesis, you do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Did Perplexity respond with anything yet?
Oh, let's see. I was checking on. I wanted to just check on how NVIDIA is doing its price action today. Not great. See, the market's a little like, that's the one thing. Like, if I was more confident in the market direction, I'd play this, no question, no problem. But that's the one thing leaving me a little reserve. Okay, so NVIDIA needs to achieve 1.06 share higher. This whisper sits 5% above the consensus estimate. See, so that's where they're getting at. Revenue consensus is 46 to 46.14, but they say 48 billion plus is what would be needed. Perplexity does. Okay. So positive reactions 6 out of 9 times. Average beats. Oh, this is the game theory we played last time on Palantir. Average gain on beats plus 12. Average decline on misses minus 5. Options markets considerably underestimate. So let's see. They say the positive catalyst, Blackwell positive, China sales resumptions, infrastructure demand, critical risk factors, China pushback, AI bubble concerns, underwhelming GPT-5, scalability, extreme valuation. I don't think the valuation is that crazy. Heavy bullish activity institutionally. This is what that says. Damn. Perplexity is really throwing its weight into this. Perplexity says overall probability of stock increase of 70 to 75%. I mean, that's the kind of thing. That's why we do this, right? I was leaning a little more towards yes, but I think that's I think that's the clincher. I think we're going to play it.
Now here's another question, because you said like if it's positive, what'd you say, like a 12% move, but negative 5%?
Yeah, that's a good game theory setup.
I think that makes sense, because it's like if you see NVIDIA stock down, people want to buy a hand over fist. But if you see it react down today, would you buy it at that point, or would you have to see what the news is that's causing it to
No,
go down?
I definitely would not. But here's the thing that makes me, kind of more comfortable to play it. And that's like, yes, I think some people clearly buy the dip, whatever, but I just don't like, we talk about, obviously they cushion it. They beat so aggressively all the time, right? They're not dumb. They know what they're very smart, actually. They have a good expectation. They're not just like, oh, oops, we guessed $1 share and like, oh, it's $1.20. Like, oops, no. They probably knew for a long time it was going to be $1.20, but they want the surprise and they want it to run. So the thing about NVIDIA, and they might make me crow here. I mean, you never know. I might be tempting the fates. But they're not really a company that, I mean, not that I could ever remember, that shocks you with a miss downwards, right? Where it's just like they thought it was $1, it was going to be $1.01 a share, and it's like 80 cents a share, right? I can't remember them ever doing that. So I think that does mitigate the downside risk. It's not just that people are more bullish than bearish on NVIDIA, even though that's generally true. It's also that they are very capable of beating by a lot, but they're not really capable of missing by a lot. So I think that's where the game theory like plays out logically. Something is upsetting the market. I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in. I just saw a pretty bad 5-minute candle. Oh, it's rebounding. I don't know if anybody knows what's going on with it.
Just jitters before the big show tonight, possibly.
I mean, the whole market. I mean, it is, NVIDIA is like moving very similar to the SPY. SPY is still at 4. Let's check a live QQQ net option sentiment 25. Yeah, I mean, nothing too exciting, but yeah, I think we're going to play it, but we're going to I think we might push it right till the end because it looks like it's in a negative. If we see it rebounding a bit, we'll get it.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you about another mega cap today, Google, because I caught wind of a story that they are expecting to hear from the federal judge ruling on their payment to be the search engine for Apple. They pay Apple about $20 billion. So if this ruling goes one way or the other, it seems like people are split on how it will affect Google because, for one thing, they won't have that monopoly, I guess, or like the guarantee of being the #1 search engine. But then they get all of that money back, and some people were excited that they'd be able to invest it in their AI more. So do you think this is necessarily a bullish or a bearish ruling one way or the other when it does happen? Or do you think it's going to have to be digested by investors and it's a little bit more complicated than a yes or a no?
I mean, I don't know. I think these events are really tough. Because what we're really asking is, the question we've asked a lot, which is how substitutable is Google, right? Because if they're out of contracts, out of obligations, right, that's the real question. And I think it's a tough answer because this is what we've talked about. I barely use Google anymore, right? The only time I really use Google is if I'm trying to look up something very specific. Like what Google used to do, take some fuzzier logic and simplify it for you. That's what Perplexity does now. And I could get way fuzzier and I could ask way more complicated questions. So I would argue that a better product than Google already exists. What I still use Google for is I want to look up where a restaurant is or something like that. Like Perplexity or any of the other, AIs are kind of a waste of time for that. But it's a habit at this point. Like a lot of my emails I have edited by generative AI and things like that. So, I mean, it's just habit forming. I'm just in there a lot more than I'm in Google. That's all to say. I think in terms of just product quality, there's better products out there other than Google, but Google's not really taking that big of a hit to their market share. Why? Because, most people that aren't in tech, or are a little older, or, you could name a bunch of different, characteristics, they get used to things, right? Like I've told people, like, and it's kind of funny, but this is just how it works. I've told people that same thing about how Perplexity can help, generally older people. And they're like, that sounds really complicated. And it's the opposite of complicated, but anything that's new sounds complicated to a lot of people. So that's the really tough question, right? Because it's not a question of, is there a better product, right? That's easier to just be like, okay, I think this product is better. I see this one product logically eating market share of this other one, and I can create some kind of timeline expectation of what that'll mean for the business. I've done those kind of analyses all the time, right? But when you're sitting there and seeing a bit of a logical paradox, I mean, we understand why it is, so maybe paradox isn't the best word, but, a tough logical situation to understand, where you're like, no, I actually think this one product is, or multiple generative AI products are of higher quality, yet it's not really affecting the market share. It's very hard to then put numbers to that and say, okay, when is it going to start impacting it? Because in my mind, it already should be impacting it a lot more than it is. Especially with all the goddamn Google ads. Like Google, like all these goddamn ads on Google are the worst. Like that's one of the things that had me, like, even before I was using Perplexity, like ready to get rid of it. I can't tell you how many times I've clicked on an ad because they've made it look so much like search now, and that's really annoying.
So two questions for you. So is this ruling much more important for Apple than for Google, since they're the ones gaining the revenue from it? And between Apple and Google, if they both want this to remain, whatever it is, like $7 trillion worth of market cap or something, can they not affect the outcome of this ruling? Or do you think it's truly like they have no say in the matter?
Sorry, what is the exact ruling? I could look it up.
So the judge is deciding whether Google can pay Apple to be the guaranteed search provider on their phones and such.
I mean, there's definitely ways around that, right? Look at what Microsoft does with their annoying browser shit, right? There's ways that Apple can get paid by Google, maybe not as much, to just make it rather inconvenient for someone to pick another search, but have it be possible, right? That's where I'd see them go. They could just transition to, instead of a flat rate, Google could be like, okay, we get this many hits from you. We will pay the same rate as long as we get that many hits. And if we get less hits, we'll, pay less, right? A court ruling is not generally going to stop, consenting companies from doing business. But if Apple is forced to not offer, it's probably just easy for Apple to do that, collect the money, right? If they're forced not to have that exclusive, maybe Google's offering less, and maybe they do, make it a little more flexible, like we're talking about, where it's just like, we're going to send people to the search that we think is best for them. And wherever we send them, we're going to collect a standard, hit fee, kind of like what Google does with the ads, like pay per hit to use the search function, right? That's quite possible. But I think it's probably worse news for Google. I don't think it's great for either of them. But it is kind of interesting. I think we're seeing with Apple, with Apple getting challenged, on these fees, like Google, I think we're definitely seeing a bit of a changing of the guard, in terms of, I would say especially what these kind of monopolistic behaviors are. Now Now, why, we talk about this, like why monopolistic behaviors are getting pushed back against for Apple or Google. I actually just think that's because Amazon's a lot smarter about it. Like, I think like it took like an expose for people to even realize they weren't even offering the best prices. That kind of thing could start unraveling a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think the Apple stuff, I would put that as the worst, and then Google, and then maybe what Amazon does, because the Apple stuff, they have this captive audience of the iOS stores. Obviously, all these people own phones. They can ransom the access to that, and they do, right? But a lot of this other like monopolistic behavior, like we talked about on search, that was just largely because Google had the best product, right? So I consider that like a little less, although, for a while it was kind of the only way you could find anything on the internet. There were no competitors. So I like kind of see it from that perspective. And it'll be interesting. Like, Amazon, I think, just kind of capitalizes on the fact that everybody just kind of likes it the most. Like, honestly, my fiance is talking about using Amazon less and everything all the time, about it not charging the most. And like, I love a deal as much as anyone, but like, I just really like using Amazon. It's easy. I like the review system. You can type anything in and find it. It makes shopping a lot easier. And I don't really like the way they, approach, business or labor practices or anything like that. But, it's just a really good product. And I don't even mind. Like, I don't love that I'm not getting the best price, because I did think I was getting the best price. But even knowing that I might not be getting the best price doesn't ruin the product for me. Like the convenience, the way everything just like shows up. Like, we've been ordering more stuff on Walmart, and like one of the first orders, Walmart, it was like, I think it was supposed to be here in 2 days, and then it just said it's not coming, right? Like, that's maybe happened to me once for Amazon, and it was just like a delay, maybe a few times. But like Walmart, within the first 3 orders, that's already happened. So it's like, it's everything that has to do, like it's just a great product.
So sorry to Mario, because we jumped into the topics and I forgot he commented this in the beginning. So we'll get to it now. Hopefully you're still here, Mario. But he asked, you entered PPTA long yesterday and the signals didn't seem to support that. So I'm interested as the why. He's owned it for a while, but he's curious on why you did that.
I wouldn't say they didn't support it. Like I ran I should have probably changed this. Well, we'll change it at the end. I ran a small cap bull screener, right? PPTA was in there. And, we talk about this all the time. It's all relative. 77 net option sentiment, which PPTA is sitting at right now, is a very good score for a small cap stock. So you always have to keep that in mind, right? Oh, we're up on PPTA now. There we go. You always have to keep in mind that it's not always the raw score, right? There's, we talk about this all the time. Nothing is that simple. You have to look at the direction. You have to look at the kind of scores that happen in the sector. We say this all the time. We would love for this to be easier, simpler, but it's not. Yes,
it is a very hard market. And Mario said, thanks, good explanation. Oh, glad you're still here to hear it, Mario. I know we got you fired up the other day talking about Cracker Barrel, but we have to talk about them again. Because you know what, George? They actually went back to the old logo now. So there was so much backlash that Cracker Barrel has gone back to the old logo. And you know what? Their stock jumped because of it. So it's shocking to me that the stock is moving so much just over this logo. But any updated thoughts on the situation, seeing Cracker Barrel go back to the old logo now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's higher than it was before the logo disaster, and I'm so unhappy because I've actually coined a term for this, and I'm going to write on this in Fast Company. So I'm not going to tell you my term for it, but what I will say is this seems like a great marketing strategy, right? I don't think this was Cracker Barrel's intention necessarily, but right. And I think Donald Trump said it himself. I mean, I think he was over exaggerating, but I think he said they got $1 billion in free press. So yeah, like I think more companies might wanna do this, right? Where they change something that they know is going to get the attention of, people that would rather have, whatever the old thing was than anything new that might appeal to, the more liberal audience. I think that's a great marketing strategy, right? And there's a lot of other things. I don't know if Sydney Sweeney registered as a Republican or she always was around that like jeans commercial, but that seemed to go very well for her. Like we talk about this all the time in the markets, companies, whatever. You got to play the environment you're in. You got to, take what the defense gives you, so to speak. And yeah, I think that, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see more of this behavior where something changes, it changes back, after getting a lot of attention. Because if there's one thing that like is true of Trump Republicans, or just like, I don't even know, let's say Trump people, Republicans broadly, like they buy stocks and coins and like they will get behind this stuff. They will vote with their dollars, which I actually wish more people did. Because I actually hear a lot of people on the other end of the political spectrum just like whining about things and never doing anything about it. So credit where credit is due. Like this group of people votes with their dollars. And that's really the only way you get anything done in capitalism. So yeah, even if this wasn't a marketing strategy, like this like mob that wants things to stay the way they were and not change because like another mob wants change. They're very effective about enforcing their will on people. And I think smart marketers will learn how to use that, right? Because what do we say all the time, right? If you're smart in the market, you will adjust your playbook to the environment, right? So if you're a savvy CEO, right, you might even have a really quick cycle. Like, hey, we're changing our logo. Hey, we're changing our messaging. Like negative reaction. Nope, we're keeping it the same. Like you could probably rocket your stock. It's a bit risky, right? But I guess the people on the other side, if people don't want these, Republicans, Trump supporters, whatever group you want to go by that buy his coin, buy DJT, buy Cracker Barrel when they change their logo back. Like we see it time and time again. Like if you want to get your way, you're probably going to have to start organizing and voting with your dollars just the same, right? Because I'll tell you this, nobody seemed to care when Cracker Barrel changed their logo on the people that supported it, right? The stock went down and then they changed back and the stock went up. So that's pretty much telling every public company that what to expect, right? That you should, in the public markets, fear and respect, the Trump Republican voters a lot more than people not in that category. That's kind of what we're seeing time and time again. And like I'm saying, astute companies could adapt to that. They could play that to their advantage.
I would love to see the revenue increases like day by day throughout this situation for them. But I wonder, because like,
yeah, are a bunch of people going to Cracker Barrel too? Like, yeah. I would love for them to get on their quarterly call and just be like, damn.
But I'm wondering,
like we are seeing a big change.
There's the line of like any press is good press or whatever. But like for you, who's someone who's building a company, like, I don't know, it seems different if you, from the inside, like it seems too calculated almost. Like if you were to do something that you knew would piss some people off for Prospero just to get headlines, like, is that something you would do? It seems like not. It seems like you were saying, it's a risky proposition. You almost really have to be confident that you can flip things back, like on the other side of it, like Cracker Barrel did or something.
I'm very risk averse as someone but
It's true. Maybe Cracker Barrel needed like a Hail Mary. Maybe they
Yeah,
weren't doing well.
we've shorted them a number of times, right? Like I could say if Prospero was struggling, I might try a gambit like this, like just to see, like, yeah, yeah, maybe change our logo to Joe Biden's face, and then be like, we've rethought, we're gonna change it to Donald Trump's face. That wouldn't be a bad gambit to pull. I think that would probably go pretty well. Maybe that's a little too extreme. I have to think of something a little more subtle than that. But I like Cracker Barrel wasn't doing well. Like I said, I don't know if they did that. But it would be smart if they did. But yeah, to your point, that's a hard, like, we always talk about headline risk and this public company like headline risk. Like, if you end up like changing your logo, changing it back, and the stock goes down both times, you're probably out of a job. So who's got the guts to make that decision is the good question.
So UNH had a bit of a decent drop yesterday towards the end of the day. There was a news headline talk about headline risk about how the DOJ investigation that they're currently under spans beyond Medicare. And it caused their stock to drop quickly yesterday, but it's being bought and it's in the green again today. I'm wondering, do you think there's a nice floor on UNH? Because we saw this kind of nasty headline, which just a few weeks or months ago, it seems like the stock was dropping like tens of percent when something like this would come out. Now it dropped a few percent and it's green the next day. Does that tell you something about the strength or the newfound strength in the stock?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I definitely think we're talking about a higher floor. But did I drop it yesterday? I'm thinking about dropping it. It's going in momentum score. It might be on the chopping block today. But yeah, not yet. Yeah, I still have it. I'm a little concerned about it. But we'll see.
Okay, and I wanted to bring up TikTok today because I saw a new valuation for the company. And honestly, I don't know what's going on with the TikTok ban. It feels like it's been so long since that was occurring. And I don't know when the new deadline is or what's the update on that. But just from the valuation side, ByteDance, who own TikTok, I guess they're giving employees like buyouts or something. So there's a valuation of $330 billion currently that employees can sell shares at. And I had no idea that TikTok does more revenue than Meta or I think maybe I actually don't know if it's Meta the company or just Facebook, but they did $48 billion in revenue in Q2, and it said they're the number one social media company by sales. That's kind of crazy. The fact that they are the number one in the world, that surprised me a little bit in terms of sales.
Yeah, that is really surprising. Hold on. I've been watching NVIDIA and it's time to get in.
What are you looking at?
A live earnings move here, everybody.
What were you looking at that made you decide this?
Well, I was going to get in regardless, and I just was like, watching the chart here and there. It seems to have turned.
You have faith in Jensen.
Yeah, I mean, always, but. Okay. We did it.
Is this an addition you could get out of quickly?
I mean, generally, unless I'm like watching it and I time it really well, which I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do today, I might be able to do. Like generally I'm going to hold it out, right? Because one thing that I've definitely noticed is a lot of the times, like we talked about with a stock like NVIDIA, it'll get hammered like pretty hard, like at open, and then it'll recover over the course of the next day or the following day. So I think unless you time it really well at the beginning, like you are better off just kind of like waiting to see how it shakes out or holding for a little longer than like maybe a day or two for the recovery. Like, because especially stock at NVIDIA, like if I saw something of like, if I saw something like, down 10%, I would actually be almost more inclined to get another. Like, I should have done that with AppLovin. I really regret it. Because I saw it and I was like, there's no way this sticks. So yeah, like that's definitely how I'll approach it. But right, sometimes what I'll do, like, and if I could do stops, I would. But sometimes what I'll do is if I see it just like shoot down 3% quickly, I'm like, I'm getting out of here, right? And I kind of recommend that because like I feel like 3% it could go down more than that. And like we're saying, maybe the average is 5. And if it's down 3%, there's probably something causing that might cause it to cascade even more. So that's how I look at those things. But with NVIDIA, like TSSI, for example, when it had earnings, I got the hell out of there the second I saw any red, right? Because I actually knew, and I was telling a bunch of people it could go down 30% in a day, and it did go down close to that. I think it was like 25%. So that's much more relevant to me than a company like NVIDIA, where I'm just like, I think 10% is probably the worst case scenario in like, the main logic distribution.
So NVIDIA is sitting at 4.47 trillion market cap. If I told you you had to odds make it hitting 5 trillion by the end of the year, which would be just slightly over 10%, so it would be just over $200 per share. What are the odds you would put on that, do you think?
I'd call it a total toss-up, 50-50. Like, I think it could very easily happen, but, we're a little concerned with some of these macro events. I mean, it's just a very, very hard market to read, but an interesting one. Like, especially because, even if nothing occurs that spooks the market with inflation or this or that, or you name it, even if nothing occurs like that, it's still at such all-time highs, right? That it could just be for like a non macroeconomic correction.
Mm-hmm. So I have one more topic to get to before the switchover. Thank you for everybody who's been in this stream so far. I hope you've enjoyed the topics. Hit that like button, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube if you love the streams. I want to ask you, George, about Snowflake, because they have pretty good Prospero signals. I think I even saw them pop up on the short-term bull list. And a stock which is semi-similar, MongoDB, was up 30+% after their earnings report yesterday. So any interest in Snowflake as a earnings play? They have earnings after the bell today.
Nope, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I do think with Mongo, it's interesting that this is happening, but maybe somebody knows something. Net options is sitting at 68 right now, a bit concerning. So not at 68, I don't love it.
All right, so it is time to do the switchover. We'll get into the model portfolio, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the updates before NVIDIA earnings.
Yep, see you on the other side.
See you in the Prospero lab. Everybody, stick with me while George is doing the switchover. He will be back in just a moment. Let's do an update on the QQQ and SPY net option sentiment. Okay, QQQ is at 27 and SPY is at 5. So since we began the stream, a bit of softening in the signals. I remember throughout the stream, George said it looked like the market was dipping, but it must have recovered slightly from the dip because everything is still in the green. So we went slightly red in the QQQ for a moment, but it's coming back now. So a little bit of, maybe pre-NVIDIA jitters. We didn't get many votes for are you bullish or bearish on NVIDIA, but if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, comment that in the live chat. We've only got 2, and one is bullish and one is bearish, so not a great amount of volume there to make a decision one way or the other on the Prospero community. Okay, let me look around the markets. Let's see how Bitcoin is doing heading into the NVIDIA report, because Bitcoin has kind of been drifting lower more so than the market recently. It's up in the green today at $112,000. It looks like overall in the Mag 7. A bit of split, but most are green today.
First off, I gotta say, we're getting close to 600 viewers, and normally we're at about 2,000, but that's normally some other influencers send out this stream, and we're getting close to 600 on just the Prospero audience. So I appreciate you all for
There we
showing
go.
up. I remember when we first did this, sometimes we'd get, 40, 50 people the whole stream. So we've come a long way, and we appreciate you all, you all coming and listening. It's been cool to see this thing. It's been cool to see this thing grow. And the other thing that I also really appreciate is, sometimes I'll see people, friends or, other people that I didn't know watch it, and they're just like, "Hey, I saw your stream the other day, or I watched your stream." So thank you to everybody that watches, and to my friends that I guess only come out of the woodworks every so often to tell me that they watch.
Well, I can double down on everything you just said, because this is like basically the value I add for Prospero. So I'm however you feel about the streams and more, and thankful for our viewers. And I asked everybody if they were bullish or bearish in the chat for Nvidia, and we got 2 more bullish answers. So we're now 3-1 in the Prospero community.
Well, now everybody's just piling on because I said it.
True. They waited to hear what you had to say. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad strategy. I can't criticize anyone for that. Okay, let's get this letter going. I was just pulling up all the necessary things.
I had kind of a thought, and I don't know, maybe it's too long of an answer to ask now, but I feel like it's good heading into this to say, Nvidia's market cap is getting so big. If it ever were to drop, it would really wreck the markets. Do you think they're going to need to like split the company up just to save that catastrophe that could happen? Like make it into like a couple, $1 to $2 trillion companies somehow, and so
No.
that
I mean, that's
no.
even riskier. Like they can't, they can't mess with. I mean, Nvidia is like, Nvidia is like the great American story, right? It's the product that China can't rip off. So yeah, I don't think anyone's going to mess with that success. I do have something to tell people. I just realized, because you won't see me until after, and I guess we'll be doing a Tuesday because Monday's off. I guess I won't see people. Maybe we'll do a Tuesday, Thursday this week. But I'm turning 40 years old. This is the last time anybody's going to see me here in my 30s, unless any of you are going to be in Buffalo this weekend. I'm going to see Niagara Falls for my 40th. I wanted to do something memorable, so that seemed like a good thing to do. Where are we at SPY QQQ, Stephen?
QQQ is 28 and SPY is 5. And happy early birthday, George, from me and Jill in the chat.
Oh, I thought I was going to have to change this, but I'm not. It looks like small caps are still on top. You said 25?
28 and 5. George, you're getting a bunch of happy birthdays and even a feliz cumpleaños for Jorge.
Wow. Are there new commenters? I appreciate people coming out of the woodworks to wish me a happy birthday.
Jill and Paula and standard deviation.
Well, you know, Jill participates, but I think those other names I'm not familiar with. I really hate. Yeah, I'm not doing this. I don't know why that bothers me so much. It's not that big of a deal. Wow, energy is the only thing. All right. Oh, did we not? Sometimes we forget to do this. Let's grab these while we're waiting. CoreWeave came around again. All right, so how many do we have? 39. $34. Okay, yeah. So I generally like. We added 2 Nvidias too, so I'm not in a big. I'm not feeling super pressured to. I think we'll get rid of one of the ASTSs too. Anything else? SoFi took a real hit today, but we're not really seeing that. Oh, and we'll de-risk UNH as well, because we're probably going to do some short closeouts too. Oh, not too many. Okay, so we can be pretty flexible in what we add. I wish it was easier to have everybody see my second monitor, because this monitor got a much higher resolution. It's easier to do this. On that one, I could see this whole table. The sacrifices I make for all of you. All right, let's get this. All right, now I also just want to see quickly, do we have any BAMs? Yeah, we have 2 BAMs. That's what I thought. Okay, that is helpful. Let's look at these bears first. Oh, I always like HRB. I don't know why. RMD, that seems like an interesting one. That's a potential. All right, let's see what's going on with Ash. Toyota. Let's get that. I know we were kind of avoiding small caps, but what's going on with MTB? That might be a good. All right, let's take a look at Ash. about ESI? No. All right. HP Miller, no, we don't like any of these. How about Churchill Downs? I feel like I've gotten in and out of this a few times. Nope, definitely not. All right, so we can add some of these liberally. What is FN? Never heard of FN. It's Fabrinet. Oh. FN could be an ad. Oh, see, look at all these energy. I mean, that is terrible. GTLB. I don't love adding a bunch of technology. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna. We might have missed the boat on that. What is going on with this? I don't feel wonderful about that, but I'm still gonna do it. No. Why do I know that name? Rush Street Interactive. Yeah, we're in RSI. I mean, are we going to get into one of these energy names? We said we were going to. I mean, this one's the less offensive one. All right, we're going to do Chevron. We're not super excited about it, but we're still going to. All right, what's SIG? We might want to do SIG instead of RSI. Signet Jewelers. Now we're not gonna. That's running too much. Okay, I feel happy about this. I mean, we twisted a little more. Oh no, we added 2 NVIDIA. I kind of want to add the best. I want to add a small cap name. HP is less than that. Oh, we're wasting a lot of time on this. Oh, okay, we're doing EOS. Oh, this is costing us. We want to do this right, though. All right, we got that. Now let's see what is going on here. $60. That all checks out.
I just got a bunch of information from you. You're going to send more. I'm going to package up this information to my fiance and my friends, and then I'll probably call you back. Is email a good way to communicate with you?
I'm sticking in this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, maybe we want to add 1. What's going on with HRB? I don't know why, but I love to short HRB. What about RMD? Yeah. ResMed. Okay, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. Oh yeah. We're loving this ResMed. Okay. We are sending this. We are adding ResMed short. And then we are getting out of here. Any final questions?
Just a few more happy birthdays.
Thank you. I really appreciate the happy birthdays. I'm glad I shared that with you all. Okay. We are done. Thanks everyone.
All eyes on NVIDIA. Like you said, I think we'll probably be back Tuesday and Thursday next week, but to be TBD. But see you all then. Best of luck with the NVIDIA earnings, and thanks for tuning in. And one last happy birthday, George. See you when you're 40. Bye, everybody.